everybody. This is TSALT-E. That's me, Salty. And you are watching the illest lines. Boop.
First of all, I want to tell you thank you so much for being on here with me. It's a pleasure to have you on here. You know, it's funny. I actually first heard of you when I put out a post on Instagram asking if anybody had heard some singers, because I'm like, man, not that I don't like my MCs and all that, but I'm like, can I get some singers on here? You know what I mean? And your name
Yeah.
popped up from Ryland Jr., I believe it was. So
Christ
I'm assuming you know
Jesus.
who that is, right?
Yes. Christ Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
Shout out to Rylan. Yes, that's my first time hearing of you as well. So
Oh, okay. No
thank
problem.
God for heavenly connections. And
Amen. Amen.
singing is what I do. I
Yes.
sing. I'm also a worship leader. And then I rap a little. So
Right. Right. So I've heard. So I've heard, and that's a good thing. One of the things that I wanted to find out, first of all, to kind of go back just a little bit. In reading up about you, I like the little story about your name. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that real quick, like how did that come about when you chose that name, Salty?
So Salty comes from a personal experience. If you listen to my EP, I wrote a song called Fit In, and it's really like my testimony. Because for years I struggled with fitting in,
Right.
trying to be like other people, not really liking myself,
Right.
because I was so different. The discouraging thing about people who are different is that we don't normally find a lot of representation of ourselves or things
Right.
that allow us to just be different or
Mm-hmm.
creative and um, weird, but not so much weird, just unique
Right.
because God made
Unique.
us fearfully and wonderfully. He made us who
That's
we are,
right. Yeah.
So I struggled with it for a very long time, trying to fit in and just
Mm.
wanting acceptance, wanting friends, wanting people to like me, but
Right.
constantly falling into situations to where I was just being myself. And for whatever reason, you know, dealing with that rejection. So,
Right.
I mean, I think at its core root, it was birthed out of rejection and wanting
Mm.
to avoid rejection. And in the song Fit In that I wrote, the song is really just me going through having conversations with people to
Right.
where I'm introducing myself to people, and then something happens to where an element of me being myself, good or bad, random conversations, something
Mm-hmm.
happens, and then whatever reason, now there's rejection. They don't want to deal with me no more, and now I'm left
Wow.
alone, and I don't know what I did. So like that's the whole cry, the heart cry of
Wow.
the song. Then
Mm-hmm.
only to get to a point in the song to where I'm like, just tell me what I need to know. I'll do anything. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Just tell me. I just
Right.
want to fit in. Only to getting that acceptance and realizing like this sucks. Like there's no uniqueness in the in
Yeah.
crowd.
Nope.
Nothing but conformity.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is like a robot. We all think the same and do the
Right.
same. So it's really bland and boring. And realizing that that's not really what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, getting to a point where I'm just like, oh my God, just tell me what I need to know, whatever I need to
Mm-hmm.
be, whatever I need to do. And then having this moment where God, you know, showed himself to me and
Mm-hmm.
just loved on me and was just like, listen, I made you the way you are because
Right.
I've created you for a set amount of people. People need your testimony. You
That's
need to
right.
be the person to encourage other people to be themselves and be okay in their skin, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like. Be the you can be.
You is you.
So that's that's part of the testimony behind it.
Right.
The actual birthing or crowning of the name Salty really
Mm-hmm.
came from being I was being prayed over, and
Mm.
that was one of the things we were praying over, the rejection. And this pastor
Right.
at the time was praying over me, and he said, God has preserved your salt at a time where
Mm.
you tried so hard to give your flavor away. God has preserved your salt. And
Wow.
in that moment, I had my eyes closed, and in that moment, God literally showed me and gave me the name Salty. And it's
Mm.
really funny because prior to God giving me this name, my husband and I, we were talking. Shout out to my husband, Jay
Right.
Sharp.
Right.
He's my producer,
Oh yeah, I was
my
definitely gonna be
manager,
shouting
my
out Jay
everything.
Sharp in a minute.
Yes. So prior to that, my stage name was going to be I.AM.D.ANTHONY because my name is Erica, and we were going to do a play off of I am and America and Erica and
Oh,
exclamation
right,
points, and it was
right.
going to be really cool. So we had websites and stuff set up, already getting ready to go in that direction.
Right.
So, but after God gave me the name Salty, my husband's like, we're not, why are we doing this? We just gave you a home. We just had a discussion
We
about
just branded you. Yeah.
this. Yes. But when I sat down and talked to him about it and I showed him and
Mhm.
shared with him the vision of what God gave me, he said, we got to go with Salty. So
Yeah.
that's really how I got the name. God literally gave me the name, and
Wow.
it's really my personal way of like letting God know that I will honor you always. This is
Right.
my way of, I'm going to always honor you and be me because
Right.
you made me this way. Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of a play on being a psalmist, isn't it?
The psalmist and also just the salt of the earth. That's the other
Right.
part of it. So salty, salt, my flavor,
Yeah.
E. It's really encouraging everybody to embrace your own flavor, your own salt, whatever that
Right.
seasoning is, because God says that we're the salt of the earth. So
Hmm.
embrace your very unique seasoning and flavor that He gave you, and just be it and do it. So if your name is Steven, salt S, you know what I mean, or just
Right,
whatever
right.
that salt is.
Yeah.
And I'm a singer, so psalmist too.
Amen. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yep.
So and where you came from, I understand that you were born in Fort Hood, is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, do you remember any of that at all, when you were young?
I was so young. So one of the most random stories I remember has nothing to do with being a singer, but
Uh,
I remember being a little girl and out in our backyard.
mhm.
Um, because I grew up on the army base. My dad was in the military.
Right,
There
right.
were ant holes. Um, and I remember being a little kid and
Uh,
just seeing all these bugs. I think they were fire ants, and just seeing
mm.
all of them and just throwing them on my legs and just, whoa, this is so fun. All the dirt and just watching them crawl on my legs. The next thing I know, I got all these fire ants all over me.
Oh
And
man.
that, yeah,
Ooh.
was a good times, but God is good. Thank God for
Right.
bug medicine, bug
Oh
lotion.
man, no kidding. My
I'm
goodness, the
sorry.
things we do as kids, huh?
Yeah,
Oh man, that's hilarious.
yeah,
So I'm assuming that you spent most of your time growing up in Rochester, was it?
yes,
Oh, okay. And so
yep.
was it during that time that you could say that you actually got hooked on, not hooked on phonics, but hooked on music?
I got hooked on phonics too. I did a lot. I did elementary school in Rochester.
Right.
I would definitely say music for sure. My my parents are pastors,
Mm.
um, but they're both musical. Like my dad sang
Oh,
and
okay.
he had an electric guitar and stuff like that.
Oh,
But my
nice.
mom is a worship leader as well, and she's a
Oh, okay.
singer and she plays keys and all of that stuff.
Oh,
My
man.
mom, I would say, is my first real example of a worshiper
Mm,
and a prayer warrior, and a
right.
singer. And I grew up listening to so much like praise and worship music, like Carmen and the Winans and
Right.
uh, Hosanna and Maranatha,
Mm.
Mike Peace, which is the first. That's like the first. Stephen Wiley and Mike Peace. That's like the first hip hop that was Christian that I heard. Bible
Wow.
Break with Stephen Wiley, and then living in Rochester, New York, we went to Mike Peace's church's youth program,
Oh, okay.
which I think was at the time called Bethel Express. So I mean, you
Mhm.
cannot not be around holy
Right.
hip hop, being around Mike Peace. So
Wow.
um, that's what started my love for music. But I think the first, aside from my mom,
Mhm.
the first song or anything that I heard that I knew this is what I'm about to do. Like I'm gonna be a whole singer in these streets.
Right.
Was BB and CC the Heaven album and CC Winans Don't Cry
Yes.
for Me. When I heard her sing that
Oh,
song, I said,
man.
"This is what I'm about to do."
Yeah.
Yep.
And what a person to I don't want to say go after, but to be influenced by, because I'm telling you, she has one of the most buttery and perfect voices that I've ever heard. Her and Yolanda Adams.
Hmm.
Those are two of my favorite female gospel singers, like of all time. And a lot of it has to do with the way that they convey the messages through their their gift. You know what I'm saying? And I think one of my favorite songs of hers is Alabaster Box. That has got, oh my goodness, that has
I'm
to
sorry, I just
be
fell out real quick.
right, right. I'm telling you, and my wife, she praise dances and mimes and all that stuff, and she did a routine to that song, and I mean, it was already at a high level, anyways. You know what I mean? But just seeing it in that way, you know what I mean, also gave it that much more life. And but that, like I said, the sound of her voice though is just impeccable, totally one
Yeah.
of a kind. Yeah. So would you say that in addition to her, were there any other influences that you could say, that you gravitated towards as far as not necessarily wanting to be like, but you knew that the influences were there when you started doing music?
Oh my gosh, yes. I grew up on like a little bit of everything. My dad, he got saved a little later. He has an amazing, incredible testimony as to what.
Oh
That's why
wow.
my dad is like one of my heroes.
Wow.
He was on drugs and
Oh wow.
was delivered from drugs. He was on it.
Amen.
God delivered him. He got saved,
Yeah.
and like I said, he's a pastor. He's been clean for over
Right.
20 years.
Wow.
So,
Oh man.
but while he
Amen.
was in the world,
Yeah.
he exposed us to a lot of music. Like it was cool because I grew up in a strict Christian household because of my mom. That aspect of it, she was like
Right.
as for me and my house, we serving Jesus. We would
Right.
have to sneak, the radio mixtapes from the radio, and I'm showing my age
Right.
now, but
Right.
we would have to sneak and record these tapes and watch MTV and BET when they weren't home. And when they get home, set the radio back to the Christian station and all of that.
Right.
But I, oh, you must know that struggle.
No, actually, I don't.
Oh, okay.
See, for
Never
us
mind.
in
Never mind.
in our household, it was more or less like there were certain things that we weren't supposed to touch,
Okay.
and like if my parents had recorded something, like I remember they recorded Karen White and Jeff Lorber and Climax and all that, and I just remember playing it while they were gone, and we got in trouble because we weren't supposed to touch the VCR. So
Oh,
it was
see.
that. As far as like the type of music, no, I didn't grow up in like a church going family at all. So
Okay.
that type of struggle didn't really know, but there was still some struggles.
I would say growing up, it was definitely a whole struggle in these streets, especially
Hmm.
when your friends are, we
Right.
couldn't even watch a
I
living
bet.
color growing up. So,
Wow.
but being grown, being an adult, the way my parents guarded our innocence, we were children, we were children, we were teenagers, we were
Right.
teenagers, and we were grown when we were grown. So, um, it's a blessing. I see
Yeah.
the gift in it all. But we really grew up on everything. We got to listen to the secular side, the old school music.
Right.
My dad was a huge Funkadelic and Jackson
Oh
5
yeah.
fan. But there was also
Yeah.
Phil Collins and Journey, and we grew up on
Right.
everything. And then you got the
Oh,
Christian
okay.
side of things with my mom, who was, Ron Canoli and Carmen and
Right.
Angie and Debbie and the Winans and the Winans Phase 2, which was a whole
Right.
blessing in 2000,
Oh
the year
yeah.
2000, because it really made listening to Christian music cool because it
Uh-huh.
sounded a lot of like what was on the radio.
Right.
Then you got your Kirks and your Freds
Yes.
and the Richard Smallwoods and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I strayed away from your question.
All good. No, it's still
um,
still 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 good.
so I grew up listening to everything, and then on my own, I was a huge boy group head. Like I was in
Oh, is that
Sync
right?
and 98 Degrees and LFO and Five, and it's
Oh, I
really
couldn't
weird,
stand
but
LFO.
oh man, listen, that was like
Oh
one of my
man.
favorites.
Mm. It took
And
a
I know
long
which
time for me
boys
to
you can
even
name
get
it.
used to In Sync, but I couldn't stand none of those boy bands at all. Except I
Oh,
mean, In Sync only had me because like, I think Justin and his voice was way more soulful than he let on. So that kind of like piqued my interest every now and then, but everyone else,
yeah.
you could have
I got clowned on
it.
a lot. I'm not even gonna lie. I got clowned on a lot. I was
Yeah.
heavy into it. However, some of it was corny, but they
Yeah.
did spit little bars here and there.
Yeah, every day, yeah, here and there.
But I love music. I'm classically trained, so I know opera and
Mm-hmm.
listen to all of that. I just love music. So
Yeah, and that's funny that you should say that because that was actually my next question about that. So, did you ever get to a point where you actually wanted to do like perform any operas or anything like that?
yes, and I actually miss it.
Yeah.
I miss it at times. We did
Mm.
I did really well in college and high school. I
Uh,
did a lot of master classes, and
nice.
it had the opportunity of going far, but I think I just being from ninth grade well into college, I think I just got tired of it after a while.
Mm.
Especially when you have to go to certain courses and you're listening to people who just really don't sound good. And it's more of, I know that's rude, but
Hey, it's brutal. Sometimes we got to be brutally honest. It's like, no.
yeah. Yeah. We had these things called collegiums, as kind of like a college collegium, and it was
Oh,
really just
okay.
concerts every week of your counterparts.
Wow.
And doing it for 4 to 6 years, it just gets redundant and you get tired of it,
I
and
bet.
you go to a point to where you are eat, sleeping, thinking, breathing music.
Hmm.
So if it's not opera, it's more musicals, music theater, and stuff like that. So I appreciate learning different languages. I appreciate the vocal mechanics and the fundamentals that I learned from it. I
Right.
absolutely love opera music. Um, Sometimes opera, especially like the higher voices, that's
Hmm.
you can get a good feel out of that, like you would a
Oh
gospel
yeah.
singer doing a good run a lot
Hmm.
of times.
Yeah.
Um, and then I like more impressionistic classical music.
Hmm.
Like the Brahms and Liszt. I think those are my two, no Chopin.
Right.
Ooh, I'm slipping. But yes, I do miss it at times,
Hmm.
but it's neither here nor there. I'm still able to
Yeah.
apply some of those,
And that's good.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
good. And that's what it
things that
was
I
for.
do.
That's what it was
Hmm.
for, you know. You said vocal mechanics, and that actually brought me back to one of your other influences that I read about, who's actually one of mine as well, Tone. He has got to, I would say, if there was, he's probably the best as far as vocally.
Hmm.
Vocally, he's one of the best singers I have ever heard. I remember even when Out the Box came out, and I was trying to teach my son. My oldest son is now 24. He's about to be 24 next month, and I remember bringing that up to him, like his bringing it to his attention, and he almost fell out at hearing every single riff and run and all that. And I tried to do it myself, but it didn't sound good. My range is not that great, but
It's all right.
still it was like one of those things where it's like, oh my god, like this dude is gospel Superman. Like he really
Yeah.
had that gift in his voice and everything. You know what I mean? So, um, my question to you on that with him is like how much of him do you feel is influenced, or his music, I'll say, has influenced your music as well?
I would say a lot. First of all, Total Suntos on the Out the Box album. That's like my favorite jam on there. Total Suntos.
Yes. Oh
There are
man, I love
there.
that song. And I
Yes.
and I don't even really speak a lick of Spanish, so it's like, for me, that's like the most Spanish that I know.
Yes, and the fact that he did the whole song in Spanish
Yeah.
and then flipped it and then put Sheila E on the
Yeah.
drums. What?
Oh man.
That whole that
Hmm.
Yo, I love yo,
Yeah.
that's like my favorite part of that song. Like,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
but there are times that I've listened to Tone and I thought it was a woman singing, only to go
Yeah.
back later and realize it was him. Full
Hmm.
range. I
Yeah.
think he definitely influences my music as far as the message. Tone, to me, my first time hearing about Tone was 2002. And I
Mm.
think around that time he came out with the
Wow.
O2 album and his single
Oh, right,
About a
right.
Thing was on. So I heard it on the
Hmm.
radio in Rochester, About a Thing, and I'm like, who is this dude?
Right.
Um, and that's when I started finding out about him. So I was able to grab that album, and then his first album, Pronounced Tone, First Stitch
Hmm.
album, because I think he had another one out before that,
Oh,
from what I
okay.
learned on Spotify.
Huh.
Um,
Oh, wow. I
but
didn't even know that.
it was Pronounced Tone, his first album that I heard, to me was one of the most greatest musical masterpieces that I ever
Yeah.
heard. I could almost say in my lifetime. But certainly at that time, because it was an
Right.
album where he had funk, R&B, hip hop, futuristic, and then ended it out with
Right.
worship. But then the content of some of the stuff he sang about,
Hmm.
um, this is neither here nor there, but it was my first time hearing a Christian
Right.
artist say the N word in a song.
Right. Right.
But I think the thing that really drew me about him was his song Taxi. And it's a song
Mm.
on his album that talks about fornication. And up until that point, I had never, ever, ever heard any Christian artists
Right.
hit these kind of topics and address these kind of topics.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, to me, gave me a liberation. It really gave me a permission to feel like, okay,
Right.
we can talk about this stuff because it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Because Christians do feel that kind of stuff. They do struggle with
Yes.
fornication, and they don't always win the struggle. Sometimes,
Right.
the fact that he failed at fornication and then described the aftermath of how they felt after they
Right.
did what they did, I was just blown away,
Mm-hmm.
just seriously blown away. And the way he captured some of his struggles with straying away from God and not
Mm-hmm.
being as close in their relationship as they should have been,
Right.
that kind of stuff really, it just really spoke to me. And I think
Yeah.
no one else really did that for a very long time until I started listening to Kristen Gray, School of Roses album.
Right.
And it was basically him just talking about being a not so good husband, wanting to
Right.
cheat, and just whatever else he's going through on that album. But just the liberation and letting people know
Yeah.
you could talk about this stuff. It definitely um, influenced me to just be like, okay, we're gonna be real, because sometimes Christians are mad at God, or
Right.
sometimes
Right.
I got another song on my EP called Restless, and that song is
Mm-hmm.
basically talking about an impatient person who wants to be in the limelight,
Yeah.
be in the spotlight, and they may not be
Mm.
ready, but they're too prideful and arrogant to know it because they're
Right.
so caught up on what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then also they'll just do whatever they want. They'll be used, just do whatever. I just want to be on the stage. So it gives the perspective of that, but also being a
Mm-hmm.
worship leader and dealing with them attitudes.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Most
I feel like you need
definitely.
to be real in your music. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. You know, one of the things I love about gospel music too is that I'll go back to one of the things that I noticed because I got saved in '04, so I didn't really pay too much attention to gospel music beforehand. There was some
Hmm.
like Take Six, one of my favorite groups, but you know, knowing that there are a lot of people, especially now, especially in church, that don't really like to talk about anything else but praise God, I serve God. And I'm not saying that those things are not important. They're very important. But you can't get somebody to that point in their lives of worshiping and praising God if they don't get through their struggles. And they can't get through their struggles if you don't serve them where they're at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times that people are expecting like all these gospel singers to just do one thing. It's like, yeah, that's great and all, but I need something that's going to get me through this fire real quick
Yep.
because no one else can really bring me through it but God, because I know that God will bring me through it, but I need somebody to channel that for me. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And
Yep.
Tony and Kirk Franklin, you know what I mean? And
Oh
I've heard
yeah.
a few good songs from Fred Hammond, that really deal with like certain things and how you feel. Jonathan McReynolds is another one too.
Oh yeah.
He has got one of the best pen games in like ever almost, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's because it comes from a real place. And I think that's what a lot of people nowadays want to see when it comes to gospel music. They want
Yep.
to see that realness, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Um, so speaking of the realness, and the reason why I say that is because when you first came out, I think it was 2016, right?
Yes.
When you first came out, what made you feel like that was the right time? And did you feel like there was like the reason behind it was because there was realness behind it?
That's a good question. Did I feel like it was the right time to come out in 2016? I would say yes and no.
Mhm.
Simply because my first single, my husband and I had been working on it on and off, I think
Mhm.
maybe for about 8 years before we released it. And
Wow.
it was and it's not because we didn't know how to write. We don't have that whack of a pen game.
Right, right.
But it's really just because we were we picked it up and put it down a lot, and it was a lot of
Mm,
fear. It was a lot of in our head.
right,
It was a lot of what they're gonna think if we start being an artist. The people around us. Oh, she thinks she this, and all of this foolishness.
right.
And I just remember it getting to a point to where, dealing with my own form of restlessness, where I felt like, oh well, I'm singing for this person, so I'm good. I don't really need to work on my own stuff
Hmm.
because I'm in this group or I'm on
Right.
this worship team. But always getting to that point to where I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing, and simply because I'm not doing what God told me to do.
Right.
Um, And then it just really got to a point where I was laying in bed having a real conversation with God, and he was just like, why you have not done what I told you to do? And I'm like, because I don't want these people to blah, blah, blah. And I remember him stopping me, and he's just like, so you're not going to do what I told you to do because you're afraid of what people who are not me,
Right.
who I created, you're afraid of what they're going to
Mm.
say and what they're going to do. Who's more
Right.
infinite here? Who's
Right.
God?
Right.
um, and it was in that moment where I was just like, all right, God, write the song,
Right.
and it
Right.
was just the whole journey since us being out. It's been a yes. I always say, just say yes and let God do the rest. And that's really what my
Yeah.
whole career artistry as an artist has been. We dropped a song, and then it really just, the rest is literally history.
Right.
I didn't even fully have an idea of who I was as an artist
Mm.
when we dropped the song. We just dropped the song, and then it just turned into, hey, can you guys minister here? Can you minister there? It went straight into
Nice.
go mode the whole time.
Nice. That's awesome.
So no, I didn't have an idea. It was just, and God has literally been taking control the whole way. So I think like in 16
Amen.
when we dropped it, the song was out great, and it was established. I was actually I'm located in Syracuse, New York, but I
Hmm.
got love in Rochester first.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
it was kind of like me being established as an artist. And then in 17, the whole year of 17, God was developing me as a worship leader.
Oh,
Another
okay.
thing, it just dropped into my lap, and it was like, okay, God, I don't even know what I'm doing. I've never done this before,
Hmm.
but he just had his way. And
Oh,
then
yes.
18 was a mixture of both. And then honestly, last year and 19 was really just more me seeking God's face because he just wanted more. He wanted deeper.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and those moments when you realize that he wants more and wants deeper, it can be kind of a big hit to your spirit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially if you don't know what to do with it at that moment, which
Yeah.
sometimes is one of the biggest hurdles to get over. You know what I'm saying? Because you start. I don't know if you've done this, but I know I've done this a few times where I start questioning the other times that I thought I was, dwelling in him, you know what I'm saying? And thought I was abiding in him. And it kind of wakes you up like, wait a minute, I thought I was doing this already. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And it's like, yeah, but you need to do more. You've been stagnant. You've been right here. And I need you to be over here. And you can't get
Yeah.
here until you get through these things. So that's definitely a good point in that that he brought you through. And it was the first album was called Alter Ego, right?
Not that was coming.
Oh, that one. Oh,
That's
it's coming. Oh, okay. Because
that's
when I
coming.
read it, oh, okay. When I read it, I thought it was talking about what had already. I thought that was your first one. Okay, my bad.
That was the plan. So we
Uh,
kind of put that out there beforehand. That was the plan. Um, but a lot more of this material is being developed.
oh,
So
okay.
I think that's coming more sooner than later. Like that's the
Good.
upcoming project we're currently working on. The first EP,
Awesome.
again, because a lot of stuff was everything moved really fast. So the EP was definitely a collection of songs that we recorded.
Mhm.
Just the demand, like, hey, we need
Yeah.
you to minister. We need 5 songs, but I only got like 3 written. So
Right.
yes, so some songs were developed on the road. Some songs were developed and actually written. So, but as we were going on the road and going to places, we needed something to present. So, I like to say my EP is really loosely a demo, if you want to
Oh,
say
okay.
it. It's still my
Yeah.
baby though.
That makes sense. Right. Right. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, I apologize. I do remember that you were saying that
No,
the
you
EP
good.
was your first go around. So, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all good. You
Um,
good?
Well, I'll say though, I can't wait for what you got coming on that because I mean, what I've heard so far is really dope. And I'm not gonna lie, I found out today that the producer is your husband, and that's
Yes.
dope. That is really dope. How did that like come about? Did you guys already know like when you guys met each other that this is what you wanted to do, or is that what brought you together, or what?
I could say yes and no. We've known each other for 18 years.
Mm,
So I
wow.
met him the day after I turned 18. Literally, got
Oh, okay.
18 and was able to get a boyfriend, and I met him and just never did none of
Right,
it.
right.
It was just him. So that was the thing when we first met. We hit it off immediately. Um, we were talking at the mall and we got into this
Mhm.
conversation, and he told me he did music and he produced, and I didn't really take much of it serious because being in this local area, I
Right,
don't think I
right.
need to say nothing else, but everybody does it, and everybody don't sound good.
Right,
So
right.
when he first told me, I was just like, oh, another one of these dudes. So, um,
Yeah, you
and
do music. Okay.
yep, your music probably gonna be fuzzy and not clear, and whatever. It's real judgmental at 18.
Right, right.
But
Oh man.
so but we hit it off with the music thing, and I knew he played at his local church. He knew I was a singer, um, and it it's been a journey for us to get on one accord, because I know I had a different view of what ministry and music should look like,
Right,
and I know at one point my thing was always like it should be for God and it's just gonna happen, and
right.
his thing, he was more active and
Oh, okay.
motivated, and there was a period of time where he produced for a hip-hop group here in Syracuse, but
Uh,
he stopped after we got married because the Lord told him to shut it down and
wow.
change directions, and out of obedience
Hmm.
he did it. And
Yeah.
then there was a period of time where I was just more focused on living in the reality of getting a job and securing that lifestyle.
Right.
um, so I wasn't very encouraging to him, and we weren't really on the same page. And then when I got
Mm.
on the page where I'm like, yo, I want to be an artist, he was like, yo, you need to prove it to me. Because he had worked with other artists and he had made music for me, and
Right.
it was just like folders of beats that I never did anything with. So
Oh, okay.
it was a real talk that we had to have, and I really had to
Yeah.
show him that I was serious about being an artist.
Right.
But when we got on one accord, I mean, we've been like, our song, our little going song, our joke is the Fabulous and Neo. I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we together. So
Yeah.
if I could describe our chemistry, it's a mixture of that and we're Dragon Ball Z heads. So I don't know if you're gonna catch the reference, but I kind of like to
Yeah.
think of it as a musical fusion dance that
Yeah.
we do when we get together.
That's dope.
We're nerds. We're nerds
Right,
over
right.
here.
Hey, as long
We
as
just
y'all
look
happy being
cool.
nerds, that's all that matters.
Yes.
But yeah, that lets me transition into the song "Conqueror."
Ain't nothing to fear, any situation, trial or tribulation. He made me a conqueror. He made me a conqueror. Only we proclaim it, ain't no hesitating. He made me a conqueror. He made me a conqueror.
Man, I gotta tell you, I love that song. I'm not even going to lie. I kept that thing on repeat. And every time it came on, it was like I was hearing a brand new song all over again, or one of those moments like, yeah, this is my song. I'm working
Oh,
to it, doing whatever I got to do. You know what I mean? And it's funny. At first, I thought he was saying Keyshawn on the track, and I'm like, I've heard that name before. Like I could have sworn that's what he said, and then when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't say that. So how's your husband Keyshawn doing? You know?
hey, Keyshawn.
He would have been like, who's Keyshawn?
I'm a who's Keyshawn.
Um, but yeah, and that track alone, I mean, much props to him, like 100, 1000%. I mean, that track alone is bouncy, it's fun, you know what I'm saying? And I love the way okay, first of all, this is more like second and third of all, really. I love when artists get into a mode of doing things differently. So when I'm listening to the song, I love how you went back and forth at first with it at the beginning. You know what I mean? And then when you went into the verse, it was I won't say it was so different from the I guess that was the hook, but I mean it was just like how can you deny just how much like how fabulous it is being all over the place, you know what I'm saying? And when I say that to in all respect too, because it was just it's so different, you know what I'm saying? I would never have thought to piece something together in that fashion, you know what I mean? I like to think I'm a little different, but that was real different. I really appreciated that as a listener.
Well, shout out to God. Thank
Yeah.
you. I just want to say thank you, and God gets all the glory. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for that.
Amen.
That feedback is beautiful, and
Mhm.
it's awesome to hear. God gets all the glory.
Mhm.
Shout out to Jason, my husband, Jay Sharp. It was really we were doing the I Am Gospel compilation track with Tricep
Okay.
Music, and we had a totally different song that we submitted to them, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
going to be on my upcoming album,
Oh okay.
called Mountaintops, which is really, really a fun track. And
Oh
it's
okay.
something that we wrote. We went on the West Coast and we was freestyling. And I think it's on my Instagram, but we were freestyling to
Oh,
the
you're gonna
song.
make me
We were
go look.
freestyling in Vegas, just looking at mountaintops, and came up with a whole song. So
Nice.
yeah, so I'm really excited to release that one. But they were looking for something else. So
Hmm.
my husband and I were walking and talking last year during the pandemic, and he said, let's just do something else. If they want someone else to do something else, I'm thinking something about Conqueror, and I said, let's do it. Like write the track. So I think maybe a few weeks later, he was in
Mm.
the studio and he called me. He's like, babe, I got this song. I need you to hear it. It's like nothing I ever heard. And he came home later, like I think at 3 a.m, because he was in the whole music
Hmm.
groove. And I try to let him do whatever he
Right,
do when he's
right.
in the
Yeah,
music groove.
you gotta let them do
Yeah,
it.
because we all gonna benefit from it,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So he came home at 3 and he was like, I'm so excited. Well, I'm gonna go to bed now. And I was like, no,
Right.
excuse me, sir. I want to end the fire.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like you were working on it all day. I get to hear
Right.
it.
So he played the song when he played the beat for me and just kind of like the skeleton of it. I
Hmm.
was I was jaw dropped. I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And who about to be on this track? Like this for me?
Right.
So longer story short, we got in the studio. We actually co-wrote the song together. We read
Oh,
the
okay.
Bible. We did a Bible
Yeah.
study on it because we just really wanted this song to encourage
Right.
people, given that we're in a pandemic. And I think
Hmm.
that's what I wanted the beginning of the song to start out with. I didn't want to make it
Yeah.
like a song that was married to 2020, like, oh, 2020 was crazy.
Right,
I
right.
wanted to
Exactly.
give it something that referenced
Yeah.
where we were with them hearing
Hmm.
it, but I wanted it to be something that in 10 years, when they made it through
Hmm.
another year, they can hear that. It's been a crazy year, but
Right.
I'm still standing here. I
Yep.
wanted it to be a timeless opener track. So we wrote the song together, we co-wrote it. Um, Shout out to my husband on those bars. Because
Mm.
he wrote some of the bars. I wrote some of
Oh,
the
okay.
bars. When I played the parts that, and it's really funny because we're kind of having a little spat at the moment, and we were supposed to be working on the
Wait a minute. You
bars.
said you were or you are?
No, no, no. We were at the time.
Oh,
The day
okay.
we were supposed to record in the studio and work on the
Uh,
song, we had an argument, like a little
right.
spat over something minor.
Right.
And I was just like, you know what? You just go to your room, and I'm gonna go to my room, and you can just email me
Right.
your bars. You can just send them to me. And when he sent the tracks to me and I listened to that
Right.
email, I didn't even remember what we was mad about.
Right.
I couldn't even. I had to get up and go. I said, bro, I don't know what this is, but wow, I'm gonna pick something up and throw it at you.
Right.
This is.
Right.
I was blown away, and
Right.
he gives God all the glory, right? And then,
Yeah.
so we, recorded the song, got through it.
Uh,
But you can't write a song about being a conqueror without going through things to conquer. So
exactly.
2020 was a very conqueror proven year for myself.
Most
I had
definitely.
shingles
Oh,
last
wow.
year, right at the crack of the pandemic really breaking. I was diagnosed with shingles.
Wow.
So that was to be so young and be diagnosed with something that
Right. No
normally
kidding.
hits older people
Yeah.
was a whole thing. And then maybe 8 weeks after getting over the shingles, I was hit with a double ear infection, and I had
Wow.
temporary hearing loss, and I was out
Wow.
for about another 2 months.
Sheesh.
um, and then to top it off, my 2020, I fell down a flight of stairs later in the month, and I had
Oh,
like a
wow.
sprained leg, and my right leg was sprained, and then my left leg, I burst a blood vessel when I fell, and
Wow.
I had like a hematoma, so it was really swollen. I couldn't walk. I was in
My
a wheelchair.
gosh.
It was crazy, but
Right.
I'm still here.
Right. Exactly. But you conquered. You conquered.
Yes. So the whole song is it's a testimony in itself, but it was
Yeah.
and then challenges with our marriage, stuff that we've had to persevere through. God is so amazing. Um, it's really a testimony track in itself, and
Yeah.
I'm just glad it blesses people. I work at a school. I work at one of the local middle schools here, the charter school, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
actually one of the songs I played during announcements. So we set the
Nice.
whole atmosphere
And you're like,
every
that's
morning.
right. I'm in charge. I'm playing my music.
That's right.
That's right.
Not too much. So I don't want to overdo it, but I
Right,
do
right,
play it
exactly. Yeah.
often just to encourage the kids.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that verse in itself, I believe is Romans 8:37 is I mean, it's an encouragement verse in itself, and I personally I love that one as well because I actually made a song called "More Than a Conqueror" as well. So that theme in itself is just it's necessary. It's
Yes.
necessary for other people. It's necessary for us because
Yep.
there's a lot of times that we feel like whether it be down in the dumps and at one point, or we just feel like God's not paying as much attention to us or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's a good reminder for us to make sure that we are understanding just how much of a conqueror we are and that we can be, you know? So that in itself is one of the reasons why I love that song to begin with, your song in itself, because
Amen.
it's one of those things, it's just one of those themes that just gets you. But seeing as that this show is all about the lines, what I'd like to know is for this particular song, what was one of your favorite lines that stood out for you?
Oh, um, we overcome like Ty said. Represent the Godhead. Satan spots we got some locked up like some dreadheads. So I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's actually one of the ones that stuck out to me too. And I was,
Yeah.
like I said, I was listening to it again today, and yeah, that was one of my favorite parts too. So what was that? Why is that part your favorite part of the song?
I think partially because I got to like change up and switch up and do a little accent on it.
Yeah,
Um, I like also the part that precedes it that says, nobody told me the road would be easy. I'm scrolling past these problems like they Facebook or IG.
yeah,
Because we literally do that on social media.
sure
And
do.
I think as believers and just in life, we just really need to learn how to keep our focus, and
Yeah,
things that come in and try to rob and steal our joy are just
mhm,
distractions. And
yeah,
the same ease and the energy that we have on social media to be able to scroll and swipe is the same way we need to be able to scroll and swipe past, these
right,
issues that come in to steal, kill, destroy, and rob our joy. And that's one of the things I tell my students at the school too, to choose joy every day. It's
right.
literally a choice. It's
Sure is.
literally something you have to
Sure
make a
is.
mental choice to say, I'm going to have joy today. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Most definitely. We're gonna go ahead and ask the final question,
Okay.
and because it's important to remember the things that molded us, not just the people in itself, but so the going back to your influences and stuff. Excuse me, what was one of the illest lines that you ever heard that you felt made an impact on you?
Mm. So I could say 1,000, 100 million songs,
Yeah, exactly.
especially when
Yeah.
it comes to worship music.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Um, but I think when it comes to rap, um, I like a lot of songs. So,
Mhm.
um, there's stuff that on the Out of Control album by Mike Peace, that's like going really back. Um, Bible Break, because we all learned the words of the books of the Bible from Bible Break. I still rap Bible
Mm.
Break when I'm thinking of the books of the Bible. That's
Oh,
corny, I
okay.
know, but
No, not
Jesus
at all.
loves me.
You learned it.
um, I'm definitely gonna go with Jay Gibbons on Kristen Gray's Wanna.
Mm.
When he says the Abba Father should have brother water, got a wife and daughter water while all around me and the thirst is real. Like
Mm.
that, his whole verse on that was awesome. But that part, when I heard that verse, I thought the verse itself was dope. But when I heard that part of the verse, I said, I
Yeah.
need to learn this so I can rap along because this is really dope.
Right.
Jay-Z definitely is one of my earlier Jay-Z.
Hmm.
Not so much post-retirement Jay-Z.
Right. Right.
Definitely one of my um, definitely one of my favorite rappers in the game. I have to throw in Ludacris and Nelly. Um, just the way Ludacris plays with his earlier stuff, the way he
Right.
would play
Right.
on tracks was
Hmm.
ridiculously crazy and put his personality into it.
Oh yeah, most
Um,
definitely.
and I think honestly on Conqueror, the first part of it, I channeled a little bit of his influence on that.
Mm.
Um, who else? I guess Wale is another one.
Mm.
Kanye. Um, I feel like there was somebody else. You said lines, right?
Right.
So I would have to say Already Home, Jay-Z and Kid Cudi, when he's talking about we don't shoot in the same baskets and all of that, when he's talking about how we're not on the same level, so how am I in your way? Like,
Mm.
I think that's that's mine.
Wow.
I think I'd have to go with that. There's so many, but
Yeah, most definitely.
yeah.
Most definitely. That's
And
cool.
it's like there's so much music I listen to, and so it's such a it's such an open question.
I know,
It'd
right?
be
Yeah.
another 10
Oh
minutes
yeah,
pulling
that's
up,
what exactly, and that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why I end up on 2 hour conversations with people because we start talking about the music and the influences and everything else. But it's my favorite thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find joy in finding out, not only finding new people, but also finding out like what has created them to be the way that they are. And why they ended up choosing the path of music to begin with. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful to have come across your music. I'm thankful that God has done a good work in you and still continuing to work in you and your husband. I'm thankful to have stumbled upon that in itself. And I can't wait to stumble upon some more. I know you said you got your project coming. So how long of a time frame are you having for that before it comes out?
Well, we're currently working on it, so given my timeline, producer, Miles is over here. Given the timeline, we're looking at roughly to have it finished up by the end of the year. So hopefully, top Lord willing, 2020 we can start releasing. I'm thinking Mountaintops is going to be my next single teaser.
Oh, okay.
But
nice.
Yeah, and then I have a self-titled track because people are always messing up my names, and there's always grace. But I'm always, Psalt-E or Salt-E, which is way too much emphasis. Just relax with it. Salty like the taste. You'd be surprised. Hey, Salt-E. Oh, you're doing too much. Not that much emphasis.
Oh man, that's funny.
Or Psalt-E or I've gotten so many different.
Psalt-E.
Psalt-E. Psalt-E. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's funny because like on a regular first of all to let you know why I have such an issue with that. My last name is Para. And people have that's the reason why I only go by Daniel Anthony now because people have butchered it, and I don't get it. It's like, how do you not see how many letters there are? You putting like 15,000 other letters on top of that. You know what I mean? But with yours, it's like, okay, I kind of understand, but at the same time, it's like, no.
Yeah.
If you've been to if you've read the Bible enough, you come on. You don't say Psalms. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Or maybe they do.
Or maybe they do, yeah. But come on, it's funny.
And that
how
used
people
to be
do.
my thing. I used to be like, oh, you could tell who the Christians are and the non-Christians right away. But when Christians in church was saying, be salty, I said, all right. It must be the phonics thing you talked about earlier in our conversation.
Right.
Not everyone has that hook. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But it's grace,
Amen. Yeah.
It's grace.
Most definitely.
The fact to be considered, to be honored. I'm not that much of a demon to where, I get mad at it. But my husband thought it'd be a great idea to just kind of like write a track. Like, let's do a song where you're spelling it. And that's kind of what I do too. Whenever I introduce myself, I do the Psalt-E, salty, that's me. Just kind of let people know. But we thought it'd be real fun to do a track that just, let people know who I am and how to say the name. And, we got like a little 80s old school rap feel on it.
Oh, yeah? All right.
So, yeah. We're really excited about it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then I would like to invite you back on another episode, if you don't mind, at some point. Because what I like to do too is live listens. I had a gentleman by the name of St. Jones who did his the Psalm 7 album. We had a listening, basically kind of like a listening party online. So if you down to do that, that'd be cool. Whenever you're ready, just let me know. Hey, I want to go ahead and do this online so we can do a live listen. That'd be really awesome.
So thank you. I would love to come back and do a dope live listen.
Yes, cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, awesome. I had an awesome time, great time chatting with you, and say hi to the husband for me. We go way back. But
I'll see if I can get him to pop in real quick.
Oh, okay.
Listen, everybody.
What's going on, sir? How you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, I just wanted to meet the man behind the master track. That's all.
Okay.
I'm really digging it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. We'll definitely be talking some more.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, it was
Yes,
a
sir.
pleasure talking to you. Oh, before I let you go, be sure to let people know where they can reach you on social media and all that.
Okay, so you can go on Facebook, Salty Psalt-E. That's
Right.
me. You can go ahead and like my page, my artist page. Also Instagram and Twitter, PSALT_E. I'm on TikTok too, and I believe it's
Oh, okay.
the _E on TikTok.
Oh,
I'm
right.
I'm getting into the TikTok world.
Right.
My middle schoolers told me that Facebook is for old people, so
Right.
you know.
And they'll be onto
um,
something soon once something else pops up. Yeah.
yeah, and we'll just continue to feel old, I guess. Facebook's working for me.
Right. Exactly. Hey, if it don't broke, if it ain't broke, why fix it? If it don't
Yeah,
broke.
so yep, those are on my handles. You can also go on my website, www.iamsalty.com. And just, be on the lookout, booking at salty.com, or you can call me 315-834-0364. Obviously, that's not a personal number because I'm not crazy.
Right.
But that's the
Exactly.
number.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Yep.
Well, again, I appreciate your time, and honestly, if there's anything you need from me, let me know. And for everyone else out there right now, make sure you go follow her on her social media, on Spotify, everything. Just make sure you go get all her music. She's coming out with more stuff, and we all can't wait to listen.
Yes, thank you for the Spotify. I totally
You're
forgot
welcome.
people might want to listen to my music.
I know, right? It's okay. It's all right.
Spotify, YouTube, wherever digital media outlets are, you can
Yes.
check me out. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much.
You're very welcome. I appreciate your time and you being on here with me.
Yes, sir. Have a good
All
one.
right.
Blessings.
You too. God bless.
Goodbye.